Hello out there in YouTube land. I want to show you a very effective bit of cross-examination from the Alex Murdaugh trial, the pork and beans sequence, as we're calling it. This is a 3.5-minute bit of cross-examination where the defense lawyer, in short, establishes that one of the police officers treated evidence like someone might treat a can of pork and beans. They really got her to say that? Let's watch.
You received this cell phone. They didn't tell you it was Maggie Murdaugh's phone, did they?
No, sir.
But you received this cell phone on the morning of what? When?
It was June 8th.
June 8th, the morning after the murders.
Yes, sir. It was June 8th, 2021.
And where was the agent that gave this to you? Where did he meet you?
The initial crime scene.
Okay, at the house, by the dog pens, where?
In the yard near the kennels. And
okay.
Yes, sir.
And when you received it, was it on or off?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Starts out pretty plain, but the first sign of trouble is she doesn't remember if the cell phone was on or off when she received it. That doesn't seem like a big deal yet, but just wait.
Are you aware that cell phones can continue to receive information or erase memory after they're, at any point, but specifically when you're trying to preserve evidence? Do you know whether to turn it off or leave it on? Anybody instruct you on that?
I'm not an expert with the cell phones, so I'm not sure, sir.
Okay.
I'm not an expert with the cell phones, so I don't know if they can receive or delete information if they're not turned off. Now let's continue.
Secondly, do you know what a Faraday bag is?
No, sir.
Okay, a Faraday bag, for your edification, is something you put an electronic device in so that no one can access it. It can't receive new data.
Objection, Your Honor. Is there a question?
Here it is, I'm getting to it. And it can't erase data. Did you know that?
No, sir.
You're in the
Now look how he does this. He's introducing the concept of a Faraday bag, and notice he turned to the jury to explain it to them, because he's not really asking a question. He's just explaining to the jury what a Faraday bag is, and opposing counsel sees that and objects, and he says, okay, and he moves into his question. But he's already done the damage. He's already laid his groundwork.
You're in the crime scene. Have you ever recovered phones before?
Yes, we recover cell phones, but they're typically collected directly by computer crimes or the regional agents.
Okay, so in this instance, though, they were not done the normal way, is what you're saying, the usual way. They gave it to you.
This way, it was just directly transferred to myself so I could bring it back to the SLED lab.
And no one cautioned you about putting it in a Faraday bag or not turning it off?
Not that day, no, sir.
2 points in 30 seconds. This collection of evidence was not done the normal way, the usual way, and nobody told her to put it in a Faraday bag. Plain, straightforward questioning. The questioner is getting exactly what he wants here.
So would that have been, and who gave it to you, agent?
Captain Ryan Neal with SLED Low Country.
Okay. And he just handed it to you, and you put it in a brown paper bag, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know whether it was on or off?
I don't recall.
And there's a passcode in this bag with it. Do you know where that came from?
I wrote the passcode that I was given on the brown paper bag.
Okay. And then somebody else wrote it on this piece of paper?
I did not write it on that piece of paper.
You put it in a brown paper bag. All right. Now he has all the building blocks of where he's going with this cross-examination, which he's elicited very easily. He's not confrontational with this witness. It wouldn't pay to be. He's very straightforward. He's got everything he needs. Now watch him move in for the kill.
Okay, just to be clear, you were not asked to handle this cell phone any different than if you'd been given a can of pork and beans to put into evidence, right? Is that right?
It depends if the pork and beans were evidence, but...
Well, assume it's a can of pork and beans and it's a piece of evidence and they want you to transport it. Did they give you any special instructions about the cell phone as opposed to a can of pork and beans.
No, sir. The cell phone was collected using gloves and directly placed into the brown paper bag, sealed, initialed, dated. A description was written, and it was transported straight to the forensic lab for processing.
And you don't know whether it was open, whether it had been shut down or was still on?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Oh my word. You didn't handle this any differently than you would have if it had been a can of pork and beans. Just a can of pork and beans in a brown paper bag is how you handled important evidence in the case. Ooh. Now he finishes up.
Can I put this back in the paper bag? So I don't drop it again?
Sure.
Take the pork and dough just one moment.
A little twist of the knife at the end there. Do you mind if I put it back in the paper bag? You can see she's uncomfortable. You can see, by the way, the prosecutors are uncomfortable. At one point during the cross-examination, one of the prosecutors put his head down on the table like this, which, by the way, don't do that. Even if it's going bad for your witness, even if the other side is scoring a good point, don't let it show. The jury can see you. That was a terrible job. This was a great cross-examination. It's not going to resolve the case. I don't know how big an issue this cell phone is, but they did it for a reason. And the reason they say pork and beans over and over again is so they can come back to it. That is something the jury will remember. And they will say going forward in this trial, and especially in closing argument, remember, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you heard from those police. They didn't treat the evidence in this case any better than they would have treated a can of pork and beans. And they've established that as something they can go back to in this trial to try to win over the jury. It's a great bit of cross-examination. And remember the keys, that there's no hostile questioning whatsoever. He never raises his voice. He slips in quietly. You don't know what he's doing while he's doing it. He clearly has a plan. You know, he knows exactly where he's going and how he's going to get there. And he lays all of the component parts out before he finishes up. You didn't treat it any better than you would have a can of pork and beans. And having laid all the predicates out, she doesn't really have any ability to contradict him. Now, she probably could have given, we can imagine a better answer that she could have given, but you can't really expect that from a witness like this, and she didn't. It's a very effective bit of cross-examination. Pork and beans. I think you'll be hearing more about it in this trial. All right, have a great day, everyone.